The power of not reacting. How to control your emotions in a world built to trigger you. Silent Authority Edition, Stoic x Machiavellian Realism. Let me ask you something most people avoid because the answer exposes them. When you react, are you expressing truth? Or are you being recruited by someone else's agenda, someone else's insecurity, someone else's chaos? Because in modern life, your reaction is not just a feeling. It's information. It's leverage. It's a receipt that tells the world exactly where to press next time. And here's the Machiavellian reality that polite society won't admit out loud. Many people don't argue to understand you. They argue to pull you out of position. They don't want your logic. They want your tone. They want you to raise your voice, explain yourself, defend yourself, overshare, anything that reveals where you're fragile. So today, we're not chasing peace as a soft aesthetic. We're building quiet authority, the kind of inner control that keeps you calm in public and clear in private. In this episode, you'll learn 3 practical moves that work in real time. 1. How to catch a trigger before it becomes a sentence you regret. 2. How to create a pause that gives you your freedom back. 3. How to respond with precision, without becoming cold, numb, or fake. And stay to the end, because I'll expose the one mistake that makes people think they're stoic, when they're actually just suppressing pressure, until it leaks out on the wrong person. If you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "Why did I say that?" If you've ever sent a message that felt powerful for 5 seconds and embarrassing for 5 days. If you've ever sworn you wouldn't get pulled into drama again, then got pulled anyway. This is for you. Stoicism gives us the clean principle: we're not disturbed by events, but by our judgments about events. Machiavellian realism adds the uncomfortable layer: people learn your judgments because that's how they learn your control points. Put them together and the mission becomes simple. You stop handing over your peace, because you stop handing over your reactions. We'll move through this as a progression. How triggers form. How the body warns you first. How to build the pause. How to label, reframe, and respond. How to use empathy without weakness. How to set boundaries without drama. And how to keep your humanity without becoming emotional prey. No preaching. No fake good vibes. Just practical control for real life, work pressure, family tension, social media noise, and the quiet wars people start with a smile. There's a quiet strength hidden in the moments we choose not to react in a world that rewards outrage, impatience, and impulsivity. The ability to remain still, to feel without being ruled by feelings, has become a forgotten art. The Stoics taught us that we're not disturbed by events themselves, but by our judgments about them. And yet how often do we hand over our peace to the noise of the world, to a careless word, to a fleeting discomfort? Today is an invitation to remember that freedom does not come from controlling life, it comes from controlling our response to life. This is not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering the gap between what happens and what we choose to do next. In that gap lives your power, in that gap you become unshakable. If this journey resonates with you, I ask you to like this episode, share it with someone who may need it, and join me as we rediscover the true strength hidden in the power of not reacting. 1. Trigger test. Picture a Monday morning meeting. You're tired, you've done the work, and you finally speak up. Then someone interrupts you, casual, confident, like your sentence doesn't deserve oxygen. You feel it: heat, speed, that internal urge to reclaim status immediately. That urge is not anger. It's your nervous system trying to protect rank in a social hierarchy. And modern society runs on these small status games, because they're deniable. No one says, "I disrespected you." They just do it fast enough that if you react, you look unstable. If you want authority, you don't just control what you say. You control how fast you let other people move you. One, understanding your emotional triggers. Every emotional reaction we have is a messenger. It comes carrying a story. Not always about the present moment, but often about something much older, something that left its imprint on us when we were too young, too unguarded to defend ourselves. To truly begin mastering your emotions, you must first become a careful student of yourself, learning to read these emotional signals like ancient letters written across the landscape of your memory. Think about the last time you overreacted. Maybe someone criticized your idea, and before you even had time to think, anger surged in you like a tidal wave. Or perhaps someone ignored you, and the sting you felt was sharper than the situation seemed to deserve. In those moments, the present is only the surface. Underneath there is history. There are the childhood moments of not feeling heard, the betrayals that taught you to guard your pride, the fears you never spoke aloud. These are your emotional triggers, the unseen scripts that guide your reactions without asking your permission. The Stoics understood this intimately. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it." And those judgments, where do they come from if not from our deepest, most formative experiences? To gain control over our emotional lives, we must stop seeing our reactions as isolated accidents, and start seeing them as the visible tips of invisible structures within us. This work begins with awareness. Without judgment, without blame, simply start observing yourself. When a strong emotion rises, pause, ask yourself, what am I really reacting to? Is it just this situation or something more? Notice the patterns. Maybe criticism consistently wounds you more than it should. Maybe being left out or misunderstood taps into an old loneliness you thought you had outgrown. These are not signs of weakness. They are invitations to know yourself more deeply. Self-awareness is the bridge between being controlled by your emotions and commanding them. Imagine walking into a dark room filled with obstacles. Without light, you trip and fall at every step, but when you turn on the light, when you bring awareness to what's in the room, you move with purpose, with clarity. You no longer blame the darkness, you simply navigate it with wisdom. And here lies a subtle Stoic truth. It's not about eliminating all emotional triggers, it's about seeing them clearly, so they no longer hold power over you. Epictetus taught that events themselves are neutral. It's our interpretations, our attachments, our old wounds that give them emotional weight. When you uncover the origin of your triggers, you take the first step toward neutrality, toward freedom. This journey will not happen in a single day. It is the daily practice of observation, reflection, and compassion toward yourself. Sometimes you will catch the trigger before it explodes. Sometimes you won't. That's part of the process. But each moment of awareness is a victory. Each insight is a brick laid in the foundation of your emotional resilience. Ask yourself often, where did this reaction begin? Is it really about now, or am I carrying an old story into this moment? Over time you will find that the emotional waves that once knocked you over begin to lose their force. You will stand steadier, not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. Understanding your emotional triggers is not about becoming emotionless, it is about becoming free. Free to feel without being ruled, free to respond without being trapped, free to live without carrying the invisible burdens of a past you no longer owe anything to. This is the quiet revolution within you, the first step on the path to unshakable peace. 2. Body signal. You can be polite while your body is in combat mode. Tight jaw, shallow breath, hands tense on the steering wheel. The world will call you calm. Your nervous system will call you threatened. Silent authority starts when you trust your internal data more than other people's opinions. 2. Noticing the body, your emotional alarm system, before the mind even has time to shape a thought. The body has already spoken long before you tell yourself, "I'm angry" or "I'm anxious." Your body is whispering the news, a quickened heartbeat, a sudden tightness in the chest, a tension building in the shoulders, a shallow breath you didn't even realize you were holding. The body is the earliest messenger of emotion, and if you learn to listen carefully, it becomes your most loyal ally in emotional mastery. Too often we live disconnected from our own bodies, lost in thought, rushing through tasks. We barely notice the physical sensations rising and falling within us all day long. But every emotion, every surge of feeling has a physical signature. Anger might tighten your jaw, anxiety might flutter in your stomach, sadness might weigh on your chest like a stone. These sensations are not accidents, they are alarms. Soft at first, louder if ignored, designed to bring your awareness back to yourself. The Stoics believed in training the mind through observation. They spoke less about the body directly, but their practices reflect a deep respect for self-awareness in all its forms. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about watching his own mind as if from a distance, observing its movements without judgment. Today we understand that true observation must begin not just in the mind, but in the body, the very place where reactions are born. Noticing the body is the beginning of reclaiming the sacred pause between stimulus and response. Instead of being swept away by anger, fear, jealousy, or sadness, you feel the first ripple. You recognize, something is happening inside me. And in that recognition you open a door where choice lives, a door where you are no longer a prisoner of your instincts, but an active participant in your experience. When a situation stirs emotion in you, train yourself to check inward first instead of firing off a defensive remark. Breathe into the tension you feel instead of retreating in silent resentment. Place a hand gently on your own chest and notice the heartbeat. Slow down. Ask yourself, what is my body telling me, before my mind tries to explain it away. This practice of embodied awareness is simple but not easy. It demands presence, it demands patience, it demands a willingness to feel discomfort without running from it. In many ways the body is more honest than the mind. The mind can rationalize, deny, distort, but the body, it tells the truth plainly. If you feel unsafe, your muscles will tighten. If you feel unseen, your breath will shallow. These signals are not weaknesses to overcome, they are invitations to deeper understanding. And with understanding comes choice. If you notice your body early enough, you can intervene. A few slow, deep breaths can soften the storm before it explodes. Relaxing your shoulders consciously can send a signal of safety back to your nervous system. Slowing your breath can break the rising spiral of panic before it consumes you. Mastery does not mean you never feel these waves, it means you learn to surf them instead of drowning in them. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Much of that suffering is amplified because we miss the body's early warnings and let our imagination run unchecked. But if you anchor yourself first in sensation, in what is real right now, you strip the emotion of much of its destructive momentum. You ground yourself in the present where clarity is still possible. Imagine your body as an emotional early warning system, a living compass that alerts you to storms before they fully form. Each signal is a chance to choose a different path, to step back, to breathe, to respond from wisdom rather than reflex. This is not repression, this is not avoidance, this is the highest form of emotional respect, listening fully before acting in time. This practice becomes second nature. You will move through the world with a new sensitivity, not hypersensitivity, but awareness. You will notice the flicker of anger before it becomes rage, the tightening of anxiety before it becomes paralysis, and because you notice, you can navigate. You can choose patience over impulsiveness, calm over chaos, clarity over confusion. Noticing the body is not a small practice, it is the foundation of all emotional control, for without the ability to feel our inner landscape clearly we are forever at the mercy of external winds. Master the signals of your body, and you begin to master the storms of your life. 3. The pause. Most people believe power is speed, but real power is timing. The pause is not weakness, it's the moment you refuse to be recruited into someone else's emotional script. 3. Creating a pause before you react. There is a moment so brief, so subtle between the stimulus and the response, a fraction of time where freedom lives. Most people miss it. They move straight from feeling to reacting, like a spark meeting dry grass. But the greatest strength we can cultivate is the ability to find that space, to expand it, and to live inside it. This is where mastery begins, not in suppressing emotion, not in denying it, but in learning to choose our action instead of being enslaved by impulse. The world often praises quick reactions: be fast, be sharp, respond immediately. But wisdom, true wisdom, moves differently. It does not rush, it does not flinch, it waits, listens, and only then responds. The Stoics understood this timelessly. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control external events, we can always control our judgment about them. That judgment happens in the pause. Without it we are nothing more than puppets pulled by the strings of circumstance. Creating a pause is not easy at first. Our biology is wired for speed, fight, flight, freeze. When we feel threatened, slighted, embarrassed, the body floods with energy preparing us to act. This instinct once saved lives. Today it ruins conversations, careers, relationships. In the modern world it is not the strongest who thrive, but those who can breathe through the first wave of emotion and choose a response that aligns with their highest values, not their momentary feelings. How do we build this pause? It starts with the simplest practice: breathe. When you feel an emotion rising, don't speak, don't act, just breathe. A slow, conscious breath interrupts the chain reaction of impulsivity. It sends a signal to your nervous system that you are not under immediate threat, that there is time, that you are safe enough to think. Alongside breathing comes reflection. As you inhale and exhale slowly, ask yourself quietly, what am I about to do? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it wise? These questions create just enough distance between you and the emotion that you can see it clearly. Not as a master you must obey, but as a messenger you can choose to heed or release. At first it will feel unnatural. The impulse to react quickly is strong, conditioned by years of habit. You might feel foolish taking a breath. Instead of snapping back, you might feel vulnerable pausing when everything inside you demands action. But over time you will discover a deeper kind of strength emerging, the kind that cannot be provoked, the kind that remains rooted even when the winds of anger, fear, or shame blow fiercely. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Notice he does not say you will find weakness. Strength is found in restraint, not reactivity. It is in the quiet refusal to be dragged by passing emotions that we discover the immovable center within ourselves. This practice of pausing is not about becoming passive. It's not about letting others walk over you or staying silent when action is needed. It's about choosing your action consciously. Sometimes after pausing you may still need to speak firmly, to defend a boundary, to assert your needs. But the difference is you will act from clarity, not from chaos, from principle, not from panic. Imagine yourself as a musician. Every note matters, but so do the silences between the notes. Without the pause, the music becomes noise. Your life is the same. Every word you speak, every action you take is part of a song. You're composing a song of character, of integrity, of mastery. The pauses are not emptiness, they are where meaning is made. And so train yourself gently, patiently to live into the pause. Start small. When you feel annoyed at a comment, pause. When fear grips you after a mistake, pause. When pride tempts you to lash out, pause even. Mindfulness as surveillance. Mindfulness is not incense and soft music. It's self-surveillance. If you don't watch your mind, something else will. Algorithms, manipulators, old wounds, bad habits. And they won't ask permission. One deep breath even. Naming the real emotion. Stress is a fog word. Under stress is usually something sharper: disrespect, betrayal, rejection, humiliation, fear of being replaced. Name the real thing and the fog clears. 1 second of reflection can change the entire trajectory of a moment. And sometimes of a relationship, of a career, of a life. With time, the pause will grow. What once felt like an impossible effort will become a natural rhythm you will not be a slave to. Every feeling that passes through you, you will be free to choose, free to respond, free to remain at peace. Even when the world around you is losing its own, create the pause, live in it, protect it. For in that small sacred space between stimulus and response, you hold the key to an unbreakable life. 4. Reframing without naivety. Reframing isn't pretending everything is fine. It's removing the exaggeration that turns a moment into a catastrophe. You stay accurate. Accuracy keeps you free. For practicing mindfulness in daily life, we often think of mindfulness as something distant, almost sacred, a practice reserved for silent retreats, for meditation cushions, for moments stolen from the rush of daily life. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. Mindfulness is not an event you attend or a ritual you perform. It is a way of being, a way of breathing, walking, eating, speaking, where presence becomes the thread that weaves meaning through even the smallest actions. At its heart, mindfulness is the practice of returning again and again to the reality of now. It is noticing your life as it unfolds instead of missing it while chasing thoughts about the past or worries about the future. The Stoics, though they never used the word mindfulness, embodied this spirit fully. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations reminds himself again and again to come back to the task at hand, to stay rooted in the present, to act with full attention and integrity, no matter how small the act. And yet how often do we drift? How often do we live entire days in a haze of automaticity, going through motions without true awareness, eating without tasting, listening without hearing, speaking without intention? In these moments, life itself passes us by, not because it is moving too fast, but because we are not truly there to meet it. To reclaim your mind, to begin mastering your emotional responses, you must first reclaim your attention. Practicing mindfulness in daily life is the art of doing just that. It starts with simple invitations. When you eat, notice the flavors, the textures, the movement of your hand to your mouth. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your breathing, the way the air brushes your skin. When you speak, listen fully to yourself and to the other without preparing your next words in your mind. Each ordinary action holds within it the opportunity for extraordinary presence. The power of mindfulness is not merely in calming the mind, though that happens too, but in sharpening perception, in allowing you to notice the rising flicker of anger before it becomes a fire, to catch the subtle beginning of impatience, of sadness, of pride before they carry you into actions you might regret. Mindfulness is the slow strengthening of your internal observer, the wise part of you that can step back, see clearly, and choose consciously. It is tempting to believe that such awareness requires more time, more space, more silence than modern life affords. But mindfulness is not about adding something new to your day. It is about changing the quality of what is already there. Washing dishes can be mindfulness. Writing an email can be mindfulness. Sitting in traffic can be mindfulness. If you are fully there instead of lost in resentment or worry. Seneca once said, "True happiness is To enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. That is mindfulness, the art of sinking into the richness of the present moment without demanding it. Be different without needing it to promise you more. And mindfulness is not passivity, it is not an escape from life's duties or challenges, it is an engagement with life at its most authentic level. When you are present, you become more effective, not less. Your actions carry more power. Because they are not diluted by distraction, your words cut deeper. Because they are chosen with care, your emotions lose their tyrannical grip. Because you catch them in their infancy before they gather unstoppable momentum. The path of mindfulness begins with small choices. Empathy as armor. Empathy is not excuse. Empathy is pattern recognition. When you see what drives people, you stop taking bait personally, and you become difficult to manipulate. Responsibility. The world will always offer you reasons to lose control. If you accept those reasons, you give away your steering wheel. Responsibility is not blame, it's ownership of the next move. One conversation given full attention. Ego trap. Ego demands the last word. Authority doesn't. Sometimes the cleanest victory is letting someone talk, while you stay still. One meal eaten without screens, without rushing, without distraction. Do not underestimate these small acts like drops of water carving stone. Their power accumulates slowly and visibly until boundaries. A boundary isn't a wall. It's a line. And lines are strongest when they're short, calm, and enforced without drama. One day you look back and realize you have changed. Your mind is clearer, your heart is steadier. Your life feels richer, not because circumstances have improved, but because you have finally arrived inside your own existence. And when life's inevitable storms come, as they always do, mindfulness becomes your anchor. It does not stop the rain, but it keeps you from being swept away. It does not eliminate sorrow or anger, but it allows you to hold them gently, to see them clearly, to respond with wisdom instead of reflex. The great secret is this: the life you are searching for, the peace you are chasing, the strength you long for, they are not somewhere else waiting to be found. They are here in this breath, in this step, in this conversation, always here, always waiting for you to notice. Practice mindfulness in your daily life, and you will discover that presence is not only a practice, it is a homecoming. 5. Modern stress. Work, family, social media, these aren't separate arenas. They're the same battlefield: attention and emotion. Control your inputs and your reactions get lighter. 5. Cultivating deep self-awareness. To know yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Yet in a world that constantly pulls our attention outward, to news, to noise, to the endless movements of others, turning inward has become a rare, almost radical act. Self-awareness is not merely noticing what you do, it is understanding why you do it. It is the art of holding a mirror to your own mind without distortion, without defense, without fear. Most people live in reaction to themselves, not in relationship with themselves. They move through the world dragged by moods they do not understand, by desires they cannot explain, by fears they refuse to name. In the absence of self-awareness, emotions do not serve us. They rule us. But when you cultivate deep self-awareness, you begin to see every thought, every feeling, every reaction is not a random event, but a thread woven into the fabric of your inner world. The Stoics urged constant introspection. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." But he also spent countless pages questioning his own motives, checking his own impulses, observing his own judgments. This was not self-criticism, it was self-clarity. Without clarity, freedom is impossible. Cultivating deep self-awareness begins with a simple practice: observation without judgment. Notice your thoughts as they pass through your mind. Watch your Emotional waves as they rise and fall. When you feel anger, pause and observe it. What sparked it? What story am I telling myself about this? When you feel sadness, sit with it. Where in my body do I feel it? What memory or expectation is feeding it? This is not about fixing your emotions, it is about understanding them, like an astronomer studying the stars with curiosity, not condemnation. Journaling becomes a powerful companion on this path, not the polished journaling of perfect sentences and profound insights, but the raw, honest act of putting your inner landscape onto paper. Write your fears, write your frustrations, write your dreams and your doubts. See them outside of yourself, and in doing so loosen their invisible hold. A thought written down is a thought made visible. And what is visible can be understood. What is understood can be transformed. Self-awareness also requires a willingness to see uncomfortable truths. It is easy to notice when we are wronged by others, harder to notice when we cling to victimhood, easy to spot injustice done to us, harder to admit when pride blinds us. But deep self-awareness means facing even the parts of ourselves we would rather avoid, not with harshness, not with shame, but with a quiet, courageous honesty that says, this too is part of me, and because I see it, I'm no longer bound by it. Seneca taught that no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself in the same spirit. No. Self-compassion. If you turn discipline into self-hatred, you'll become brittle. Brittle people shatter under pressure, and then call it bad luck. Compassion is how you stay strong without becoming hard. One is more lost than the person who never looks within without facing the truth of your own mind. You are tossed like a ship without a rudder, at the mercy of every storm. But when you know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your tendencies, your triggers, you can steer your life with intention. Self-awareness is not a destination, it is a daily practice, a lifelong conversation with yourself. Some days you will feel clear and strong, understanding your emotions as they rise. Other days you will stumble, act out old patterns, miss the signs. That too is part of the journey. What matters is not perfection, but persistence. Each moment of honest observation, no matter how small, strengthens your capacity to live with intention rather than reaction. In cultivating self-awareness, you also cultivate compassion, first for yourself and then for others. You begin to see that everyone carries their own hidden struggles, their own invisible wars. You become less quick to judge, more quick to understand. And this understanding quietly transforms the way you move through the world. There is a serenity that comes from knowing yourself, a steadiness that no external chaos can easily shake. When you truly see yourself, your light and your shadow, you can no longer be manipulated by praise or destroyed by criticism. You become anchored in something deeper than opinion, deeper than circumstance, anchored in the simple, unshakable truth of who you are. Cultivate deep self-awareness, and you no longer live at the mercy of unseen forces within you. You become the quiet master of your own mind, not by force, but by the patient, courageous act of seeing. 6. Growth. You don't master this in a day. You master it by catching the reaction a little earlier each week. Progress isn't loud. It's consistent. 6. Labeling and accepting emotions. You cannot master what you refuse to name. Emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, they crash, and if you do not know what wave you are riding, you're far more likely to be dragged by it into actions you later regret. To cultivate emotional control, you must first cultivate emotional literacy, the ability to recognize what you feel, to call it by its true name, and to sit with it without panic or judgment. It sounds simple, it is not. Many of us were never taught to name our emotions. We were taught to label anger as wrong, sadness as weakness, fear as failure. We were taught to suppress what was uncomfortable, to dismiss what was inconvenient. But suppression is not control, denial is not mastery. What we push away grows stronger in the shadows. The Stoics, despite their reputation for emotional restraint, did not advocate for ignoring emotions, they advocated for understanding them. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." In the same spirit, no man is more vulnerable than he who refuses to face what stirs inside him. True strength lies not in pretending you are unmoved, but in seeing clearly how you are moved, and choosing your response from that place of clarity. Labeling emotions is the first act of courage. It requires honesty, it requires vulnerability, it requires you to say without flinching, this is anger, this is fear, this is grief, this is envy. You do not have to act on it, you do not have to be consumed by it, you simply have to see it. The act of naming an emotion shifts you from being inside the storm to observing the storm. Instead of being overwhelmed by a vague, powerful force, you can step back and say, I am experiencing frustration right now. This small shift from identification to observation is profound. You are not the emotion, you are the final warning. Suppression looks like control, until it leaks. Mastery feels the emotion, names it, holds it, and chooses. That's the difference between quiet and powerful. One witnessing it and witnessing creates space to choose, space to breathe, space to respond with wisdom, rather than impulse. Once you have labeled the emotion, the second step is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean you approve of every feeling or that you surrender to being ruled by them. It means acknowledging that what is present, that denying the existence of anger or fear does not erase it, it only gives it more hidden power. Acceptance allows you to work with reality rather than against it. And the reality is being human, means feeling a vast, messy, complicated range of emotions. No one is immune, not the wise, not the disciplined, not the strong. The difference lies not in the absence of emotion, but in the ability to meet it without being shattered by it. Think of emotions like weather patterns. Some days are sunny, some days are storms. You do not stand outside and scream at the rain demanding it stop. You accept that it is raining, and you act accordingly, seeking shelter, moving carefully, waiting for the clouds to pass. Emotions are the same. Acceptance allows you to navigate emotional storms with steadiness and grace. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the nature of life's difficulties not as injustices, but as facts. You have power over your mind, not outside events. He wrote, to apply this to emotion is to realize I may not control what I initially feel, but I control what I do with it, and that control begins the moment I recognize and accept what has arisen within me. There is humility in this process, humility to admit that we are not always rational, not always composed, not always noble. Humility to admit that we are moved by fear, anger, desire, sadness, sometimes all within the same hour. But there is also great dignity in this, because when you accept your emotions without judgment, you reclaim your agency. You are no longer a puppet of denied feelings. You are a conscious participant in your own inner life. Practice labeling your emotions gently. You do not need to dissect them endlessly. A simple acknowledgement is enough. This is anger, this is loneliness, this is hope. Practice accepting them with kindness as you would greet an old friend at the door, not necessarily inviting them to stay forever, but acknowledging their presence with respect. And remember, emotions are temporary visitors. They come and go, they pass through like seasons. Your task is not to freeze them or to fight them. Your task is to recognize them, accept them, and let them move through you without becoming them. In the end, emotional mastery is not about feeling less, it is about feeling wisely. It is about being deeply alive to your inner world without being ruled by it. It is about knowing I can feel anger without lashing out. I can feel fear without shrinking. I can feel sadness without drowning. Label, accept, breathe, choose. That is the quiet, unglamorous, yet powerful path to freedom. 7. Reframing negative thoughts. The stories we tell ourselves shape the lives we live. Often suffering does not come from what happens to us, but from the meaning we assign to it. An insult becomes a declaration of our worthlessness. A failure becomes a prophecy of future defeat. A single moment of rejection becomes in our minds an entire lifetime of inadequacy. This is the silent, relentless work of unexamined negative thoughts, and it is one of the greatest causes of emotional suffering. The Stoics saw this clearly. They taught that events themselves are neutral. It is our judgments that give them color, weight, and emotional charge. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And reaction begins in thought. Before there is anger, fear, despair, there is an interpretation, often so automatic we do not even notice it. To reframe negative thoughts is not to deny pain or pretend that everything is fine. It is to see the event clearly, strip away the layers of catastrophic storytelling, and choose a more empowering perspective. It is the discipline of challenging the first thought, the automatic thought, and asking, is this the only way to see this? Is this even true? Imagine a friend cancels plans with you. The unexamined mind leaps immediately. They don't care about me. I'm not important. I'm always left out. But another perspective exists. Maybe they had an emergency. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe this has nothing to do with my value at all. In reframing, you create choice. You reclaim power over your internal landscape. This is not about naive optimism. It is about realistic flexibility, about recognizing that your first emotional reaction is often the loudest, but rarely the wisest. It is about training your mind to question its own impulses, to hold its own narratives up to the light. Start with noticing. When you catch yourself spiraling into negativity, pause, name the thought clearly. I'm thinking I'm not good enough because I made a mistake. I'm thinking this failure defines me. Naming it weakens its invisible hold. Thoughts thrive in the dark. They lose their grip when exposed. Then challenge it. Is it objectively true that one mistake defines your worth, that one failure predicts your future, that one rejection determines your entire identity? The Stoics would smile gently here. They would remind us that we're not our circumstances, but how we meet our circumstances. Reframing also invites neutrality. Not everything needs to be labeled good or bad. Sometimes events are simply events, raw material for growth, for practice, for resilience. Marcus Aurelius would often remind himself, this is neither good nor bad, it simply is. This neutrality is powerful. It allows you to meet life with open hands instead of clenched fists. Over time, reframing negative thoughts becomes less about fighting negativity and more about building a new habit of thought, a habit of seeing possibilities where you once saw dead ends, a habit of interpreting setbacks as lessons, not verdicts, a habit of compassion toward yourself when you stumble rather than harsh judgment. This does not mean pain disappears. Life will still wound you at times, but with reframing, wounds become teachers rather than life sentences. Pain becomes something you move through, not something you build your identity around. It takes daily effort. Some days reframing will feel natural, other days the old narratives will pull at you loud and heavy. That is the nature of any deep change, uneven, imperfect, human. But each time you pause, each time you question, each time you choose a better thought, you are rewiring your mind toward freedom. Reframing is ultimately an act of emotional sovereignty. It is refusing to be at the mercy of the worst interpretations your mind can offer. It is choosing to see yourself, your life, and your challenges through a lens that strengthens you instead of breaking you. Ask yourself often, what else could this mean? What is the most empowering way to see this? What would someone wiser than me see here? In that questioning, you loosen the grip of negativity. You make space for wisdom, for resilience, for peace. You become the author of your inner world rather than a passive character tossed by every passing thought, and that quietly, steadily changes everything. 8. 8. Practicing empathy and compassion for others. And your self-strength is often mistaken for hardness. We are taught subtly and openly that to be strong is to be unfeeling, to move through the world untouched, to build walls thick enough that nothing can penetrate. But the deepest strength is not found in walls, it is found in openness, in the quiet, resilient courage of empathy and compassion. Empathy is the ability to step outside yourself for a moment and see the world through another's eyes. Compassion is the choice to meet that understanding with kindness, and though they seem directed outward, they begin always within. Practicing empathy for others means recognizing that everyone is fighting battles you cannot see: the anger of a stranger, the coldness of a friend, the betrayal of a loved one. These are rarely pure expressions of malice. More often they are symptoms of wounds, fears, unmet needs. The Stoics urged us not to be quick to anger, not because injustice does not exist, but because anger clouds judgment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, whenever you're about to find fault with someone, ask yourself, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize? In seeing the humanity of others, you do not excuse all actions, you do not surrender your boundaries, but you soften the sharpness of judgment that poisons your own peace. You learn to say, this person's action hurt me, but it was born from their own struggle. This comment wounded me, but it speaks more to their pain than my worth. Empathy is not about absorbing the emotions of others, it is about understanding them enough that you do not let them control you. It is about seeing anger without meeting it with anger, seeing fear without responding with fear. It is about holding your own center steady and strong in a world that often spins in chaos. And what of compassion for yourself? In many ways this is even harder. We are often our own harshest critics, our own most ruthless judges. We forgive others for mistakes we would never allow in ourselves. We offer kindness to friends while condemning ourselves for the same stumbles. Practicing self-compassion means daring to see yourself with the same understanding you extend to others. It means acknowledging your imperfections without letting them define you. It means recognizing that growth is messy, that mistakes are inevitable, that you are at every moment a work in progress, and that this does not diminish your worth. Seneca wrote, "No man becomes great all at once. Growth is a process, mastery is a journey. And on this journey there will be days when you lose your temper, when you act from fear, when you fail to live up to your own ideals." Compassion means meeting these moments not with self-loathing, but with curiosity, asking, what can I learn here? How can I move forward a little wiser, a little stronger? Self-compassion is not an excuse to avoid responsibility. True compassion is rooted in accountability. It says, I made a mistake, and I own it, but I do not define myself by it. I will learn, I will continue. This mindset transforms failure from a dead end into a doorway. The practice of empathy and compassion for others and for yourself creates a mind that is both sharp and soft. Sharp enough to see clearly, soft enough to respond wisely. It prevents bitterness from taking root. It keeps the heart supple even when the world gives you every reason to harden it. Empathy teaches you patience with others. Compassion teaches you patience with yourself. Together they build a life of emotional maturity where strength is measured not by how fiercely you can fight, but by how gracefully you can endure, understand, and keep moving forward. Every day offers opportunities to practice. A colleague snaps at you, a stranger cuts you off in traffic, a friend disappoints you, your own mind berates you for a forgotten task. In each moment you can choose, react blindly or respond compassionately, harden or stay open, drown in judgment or rise in understanding. The choice is not always easy, but it is always yours, and every time you choose empathy over anger, compassion over criticism, patience over blame, you become stronger, not in the brittle way of someone who cannot be touched, but in the profound way of someone who cannot be broken. Practice empathy, practice compassion for others, for yourself. And watch how quietly, how powerfully your world transforms. 9. Taking full responsibility for your reactions. There is a silent, invisible line between what happens to you and what you choose to do with it. Many never cross it. They spend their lives caught in a loop of blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming fate, as if their emotions were puppets pulled by someone else's hand. But real freedom, the kind that no one can take from you, begins the moment you accept a simple, unflinching truth: you are responsible for your reactions, not for what happens, not for what others say or do, but for the meaning you give, the thoughts you entertain, the actions you choose. In the teachings of Stoicism, this distinction is sacred. Epictetus made it clear: we are not disturbed by events, but by the views we take of them. Notice carefully, he does not deny that events can be painful, he simply refuses to grant them absolute power over the inner life. Taking full responsibility is not about blame, it is not about beating yourself up every time you feel hurt or angered. It is about stepping into ownership. It is the quiet, powerful act of saying, my peace, my growth, my dignity, these are mine to protect, mine to cultivate. No one else can do it for me. When you refuse responsibility for your reactions, you hand your inner life over to the world. You allow a stranger's rudeness to dictate your mood. You allow a setback to dictate your self-worth. You allow the chaos of life to determine whether you stand tall or collapse. But when you claim responsibility, you reclaim sovereignty. You begin to live from the inside out rather than from the outside. And this shift is neither easy nor instant. It demands brutal honesty. It demands that you stop waiting for apologies that may never come, that you stop waiting for circumstances to improve before you decide to be calm, centered, whole. It demands that you stop measuring your inner state by outer conditions. And it demands most of all that you give up the comfort of excuses. There is a certain comfort in blaming others. It absolves us from the hard work of change. It makes the world the villain and us the helpless victims. But comfort is not the same as freedom. True freedom is uncomfortable. It requires the courage to see your own role in your own suffering. It requires the humility to admit, I chose this thought, I fed this emotion, I acted from this impulse. Responsibility does not mean perfection. You will still feel the sting of anger, the pull of sadness, the surge of fear. You are human. But with responsibility you catch yourself quicker. You step back sooner. You own the process rather than being owned by it. Marcus Aurelius, facing betrayals, wars, and the endless pressures of empire, wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Strength, real strength, is not found in controlling the uncontrollable. It is found in mastering what is always within your reach, your interpretation, your intention, your response. When you take full responsibility for your reactions, a transformation begins. Criticism no longer destroys you, it informs you. Setbacks no longer define you, they refine you. Other people's behavior no longer dictates your inner weather. You become the steady sky above the passing storms. This does not mean you excuse mistreatment. Boundaries are part of responsibility too. If someone disrespects you, you can and should respond with clarity and firmness, but even then the energy you bring, the calm or chaos you embody, is your choice. Responsibility is empowerment. It is the quiet armor that protects your peace in a noisy world. It is the invisible compass that keeps you steady when life pulls you in 1,000 directions. And it is not a one-time decision. Every day you are given 100 opportunities to practice. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a friend disappoints you, when your plans fall apart, each moment asks, will you react blindly or respond consciously? Will you blame, or will you own? Over time, these small moments shape your character. They build a foundation of strength that cannot be shaken by the behavior of others or the unpredictability of life. They forge a resilience that is not loud or showy, but quiet, steady, unbreakable, taking full responsibility. For your reactions is not just a skill, it is a way of life, a declaration that you will no longer be at the mercy of forces outside your control, a commitment to live from within. Anchored to your own values, guided by your own chosen response. Own your reactions, own your peace, own your life. 10. Releasing the weight, ego, pride, and grudges. There is a heaviness we carry without even knowing it weighs on the mind, tightens the heart, clouds our judgment. And it is made not of what others have done to us, but of what we refuse to let go, our ego, our pride, our grudges. We often think of strength as holding on, standing our ground, refusing to yield. But sometimes true strength is the quiet decision to set down the weight that no longer serves us. Sometimes it is in the releasing, not the clinging, that we become free. The ego whispers that we must always be right, that any slight is an attack, that any loss of face is an unforgivable humiliation. Pride tells us that forgiveness is weakness, that to move on without revenge is to surrender. Grudges convince us that holding anger close somehow protects us from further pain. But the Stoics in their wisdom saw things differently. They understood that clinging to offense, to pride, to the need for vindication only chains us to the very things we claim to resent. Marcus Aurelius asked himself, will you be angry with the world as if the world would notice? He knew to carry bitterness is to drink poison and hope another will suffer. Releasing ego does not mean thinking less of yourself, it means needing less from the world to confirm your worth. It means standing firmly in who you are without requiring constant validation. When your ego is quiet, you do not crumble at criticism, you do not need to dominate every conversation, you do not fear being wrong, because your identity is not built on the fragile pedestal of always being right. Releasing pride does not mean becoming passive, it means choosing dignity over domination. Pride demands that we win, dignity seeks only that we act with honor. When you let go of pride, you can apologize when needed, forgive when ready, and walk away from conflicts that would otherwise consume your peace. You can disagree without hatred, you can correct without humiliating, you can lead without needing to stand taller than everyone else. Releasing grudges is perhaps the hardest. Grudges feel justified. They feel righteous. They feed the illusion that we are protecting ourselves by remembering every hurt. But in truth, we imprison ourselves in the memory of injury we give the people who hurt us. A rent-free space in our minds, allowing them to wound us again and again long after the moment has passed. Forgiveness in the Stoic sense is not about forgetting or excusing harm, it is about refusing to let past harm define your future. It is about choosing to be free even when others have been unjust. Seneca reminds us the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. You do not heal by mirroring the very pain you received, you heal by breaking the chain, by choosing peace over perpetual conflict. The practice of releasing ego, pride, and grudges is not a single event, it is a discipline, a choice made daily, sometimes hourly. When the sting of criticism rises, you breathe and remember, I am more than this moment. When pride tempts you to dig in your heels, you pause and ask, what matters more, winning or wisdom? When resentment surges, you soften and whisper to yourself, I will not carry this fire any longer. And as you practice, something extraordinary happens. The mind grows lighter, the heart beats quieter, you move through life with less armor, but greater invulnerability, not because you are untouched, but because you are unhardened. You are not weighed down by every insult, every misunderstanding, every slight. You can walk away when needed, you can forgive without forgetting who you are. Imagine living each day without dragging the chains of past offenses behind you. Imagine meeting challenges without the constant need to defend your ego. Imagine apologizing freely when you are wrong, and forgiving swiftly when others stumble. Imagine the space, the clarity, the energy that would flood back into your life. This is not weakness, this is not naivety, this is strength at its most refined. The Strength of self-mastery. Release the need to always be right. Release the desire to prove your worth. Release the burden of old anger, and in doing so reclaim something far more precious than pride. Your peace. 11. Setting healthy boundaries and communicating clearly. There is a quiet power in learning where you end and where others begin in a world that often glorifies self-sacrifice and endless availability. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, even selfish. But boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are the framework that allows real connection, mutual respect, and authentic peace to exist. Healthy boundaries are acts of self-respect. They say, without aggression, this is what I need to stay well, this is what I cannot allow. If I am to live honestly, this is the line that protects my peace, my time, my dignity. Without them, even the most well-meaning relationships eventually sour into resentment and imbalance. The Stoics, though they spoke less explicitly about boundaries, lived by them. Marcus Aurelius knew the importance of guarding his inner life against corruption and distraction. He wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think, or do only what you do." Boundaries are precisely that, the conscious choice to control your own actions regardless of how the world pulls at you. Setting boundaries starts with knowing yourself. You must first be clear: what drains me, what strengthens me, what am I willing to offer freely, and what must I protect? Without this clarity, you will forever be reacting, overcommitting, people-pleasing, burning out before you even realize why. And once you know, the next step is communication: clear, calm, direct, no justifications, no apologies for taking up space. Setting a boundary is not a confrontation, it is an expression of truth. It might sound like, "I appreciate the invitation, but I need this evening for myself. I'm not available for that request right now. I value our relationship, and for it to stay healthy, I need us to agree on certain expectations." The language of boundaries is simple. The challenge lies not in the words, but in the willingness to say them and to hold them. When tested, it will be tested. Some people will not like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from your lack of them. They may guilt you, question you, push against your limits. That is their right, but it is also your right and your responsibility to stand firm, without anger, without apology, without drama. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." Healthy boundaries are how you ensure that your associations uplift you instead of draining you. They are how you protect the sacred space where growth, love, and self-respect can flourish. Clear communication does not mean cruelty. You do not need to be harsh to be firm. In fact, the most powerful boundaries are often spoken with calmness, with kindness. They do not attack, they simply assert. They say, "This is my path, I walk it with openness, but I choose who and what walks alongside me." Practicing boundaries teaches you that peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of clarity. It teaches you that saying no to what harms you is in itself saying yes to what nurtures you. It shifts your relationships from unconscious obligation to conscious connection. But perhaps the most overlooked aspect of boundaries is this: you must honor your own boundaries first. It is not enough to declare them to others if you secretly betray them yourself. If you say you will not answer emails after a certain hour, but you do. If you say you need time for rest, but you let guilt override it. Each self-betrayal erodes your trust in yourself. Each self-betrayal teaches others that your boundaries are suggestions, not commitments. Honor your word to yourself as sacred. Others will learn from your example how to honor it too. Setting healthy boundaries is an act of love, not just for yourself but for those you interact with. It sets clear expectations, it prevents hidden resentments, it allows for honest connection without the slow poison of unmet, unspoken needs. And it is a continuous practice. There will be times when you are tempted to bend your boundaries to avoid discomfort, to win approval, to sidestep guilt, resist This each time you stand in your truth even. When it trembles you strengthen your center, you teach yourself that you are worthy of the space you occupy, you affirm again and again that your peace is a priority, not an afterthought. Communicate clearly, set boundaries. Calmly protect your energy wisely and watch how your life slowly but surely becomes lighter, cleaner, freer. 12. Managing stress and anxiety through practical tools. Stress and anxiety are not flaws in your character, they are natural responses to the pressures of life's signals from the body and mind that something feels threatened, uncertain, overwhelmed. But while they are natural, they do not have to rule you. Managing stress and anxiety is not about pretending life is easy, it is about building the tools and habits that allow you to move through difficulty with steadiness, clarity, and resilience. The Stoics faced immense uncertainty, wars, exile, betrayal, death. Yet they sought above all to master their internal response to chaos. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This realization is the foundation of all practical tools for managing stress. It is not what happens outside you that determines your peace, but what happens inside. The first and simplest tool is the breath. Stress constricts it, speeds it up, shortens it. Anxiety traps it high in the chest. By consciously slowing your breath, deepening it, extending each exhale, you send a signal to your nervous system, I am safe. A simple practice: inhale 4 counts, hold 4 counts, exhale 4 6 counts. Repeat this rhythm when tension rises, when fear tightens its grip. It is not magic, it is biology. Movement is another tool often overlooked. When the mind is agitated, the body carries that agitation. Energy needs a channel. Walk, stretch, train. Move your body to move the stress through and out of you. Even a few minutes of physical movement can transform anxiety from an overwhelming cloud into a manageable signal. Another powerful tool: reframing thoughts. Anxiety often thrives on catastrophic thinking, imagining the worst, replaying failures, magnifying threats. Train yourself to challenge these thoughts. Ask, is this fear true? Is it certain? Is it useful? Most fears collapse under the weight of honest inquiry. Reframing is not denial, it is choosing a perspective that empowers rather than paralyzes. Journaling can also become a sanctuary. When stress swirls in your mind, put it onto paper. Write without editing, without judging. Let the tangled mess of fears and frustrations spill out. Often what feels overwhelming inside the mind becomes far less monstrous when seen clearly on the page. Journaling gives form to the formless, making it easier to understand, process, and address. And sometimes managing stress means asking for help. The Stoics prized self-reliance, yes, but they also understood the value of community, of shared wisdom. Seneca had friends with whom he exchanged letters of deep philosophical reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself, inspired by the teachings of others, to seek support. A conversation, a mentor, a professional guide is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that while we must walk our path alone, we need not carry every burden in silence. A vital tool. Often forgotten simplicity. Anxiety often grows in complexity. Too many obligations, too many tasks, too many competing priorities. Simplify, identify what matters most today. Focus on that. Let go of the need to solve everything at once. Seneca reminds us we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Complexity feeds imagination. Simplicity anchors you in what is real, manageable, actionable. Managing stress also demands acceptance. Accept that some stress is inevitable. Accept that anxiety will visit as weather changes. Fighting stress often amplifies it. Accepting it with a calm, observing mind, here it is again, robs it of much of its destructive power. You become a witness rather than a victim. And above all, remember these tools are practices, not performances. Some days the breath will calm you, some Days the anxiety will surge higher despite your best efforts. This does not mean you are failing. It means your human mastery is not about never feeling stressed, it is about building a deeper resilience. A greater capacity to return to center no matter how far you are pulled away. Build these tools into your daily life. Do not wait for crisis to practice them. Make breathing exercises a morning ritual. Make movement a daily non-negotiable. Make reflection and simplification part of your evening. These small consistent acts build a foundation that holds you steady when storms come. Managing stress and anxiety is not about eliminating all difficulty, it is about cultivating an inner refuge, a place within you that remains calm even when the world outside is not. You cannot always control the waves, but you can become a better sailor. 13. Embracing imperfection and practicing self-compassion. There is a certain beauty in the cracks, in the unfinished, in the parts of ourselves we would rather hide. Yet for most of us the natural impulse is to fight imperfection, to correct it, to disguise it, to outrun it. We imagine that somewhere in the future, after enough work, enough achievement, enough self-discipline, we will finally arrive at a version of ourselves that is complete, flawless, beyond mistake. But this vision is a mirage. Perfection is not the destination of growth, it is the enemy of it. Embracing imperfection does not mean giving up on excellence, it means releasing the illusion that you must become flawless before you are worthy of peace, of respect, of self-compassion. It means understanding that flaws are not failures, they are fingerprints of your humanity. The Stoics remind us of this gently but firmly. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire and carried burdens most of us cannot imagine, still wrote in his private meditations about his frustrations, his anger, his impatience. He didn't hide these flaws from himself, he faced them with clarity and patience, knowing that progress was the goal, not perfection. In the same way, practicing self-compassion is not about excusing every mistake, it is about meeting yourself where you are with honesty and kindness. When you stumble, and you will, self-compassion says, of course I stumbled, I am human, but I am not defined by this moment. When you fall short of your ideals, self-compassion says, I see my gap and I will keep trying. When you fail, self-compassion whispers, this is part of the path, I am still on it. Without self-compassion, every mistake becomes a personal indictment, every imperfection becomes evidence that you are not enough. The mind spirals. Why can't I do better? Why am I like this? Will I ever get it right? And under the weight of this harshness, growth withers, courage shrinks, the risk of trying again feels too great. But with compassion, mistakes become information, not condemnation, they become teachers rather than executioners. They offer lessons, not life sentences. Seneca wisely said, while we teach we learn. In the same way, while we fail we grow. If we are willing to approach ourselves with patience instead of punishment, self-compassion is a discipline. It is not automatic, especially for those who have spent years believing that harshness is the only path to improvement. It takes conscious effort to notice the voice of self-criticism rising, and to choose instead the voice of understanding. You can practice it in small ways. When you forget an appointment, instead of berating yourself, you can say, I'm managing many things. It's okay to forget sometimes, I will find a better system. When you feel overwhelmed by anxiety, instead of calling yourself weak, you can say, I'm carrying a lot. Right now I will give myself the care I need. When you lose your temper, instead of collapsing into shame, you can say, that wasn't who I want to be, I see it, I will do better next time. Each of these small acts rewires the mind. They teach you that you are safe to grow, safe to try, safe to stumble without losing your worth. Embracing imperfection also liberates your relationships. When you accept your own humanity, you become more gracious with the humanity of others. You stop expecting flawless behavior. You allow space for mistakes, for misunderstandings, for growth. You meet others not with rigid judgment, But with an open hand, this does not mean abandoning standards, it means rooting those standards in love. Not fear, it means understanding that excellence is born not from the fear of failure but from the freedom to learn, to risk, to fall and rise again. In embracing imperfection you claim your full, complex, beautiful humanity. You accept that you are and always will be a work in progress. You shift your focus from appearing perfect to becoming whole. And that shift changes everything. It lifts the unbearable burden of having to arrive. It gives you permission to breathe, to try, to grow in the open air of authenticity. The cracks remain, the rough edges stay, but instead of being marks of shame, they become marks of life, of courage, of resilience. Embrace your imperfections, practice compassion, fierce, steady, unwavering toward yourself, and discover the quiet, unstoppable strength that was never born from being perfect, but from being whole. 14. Developing a growth mindset. An emotional balance. To grow is to live, to believe that who you are today is only the beginning of who you can become. This is the foundation of resilience, of mastery, of a life that expands rather than contracts under the weight of hardship. A growth mindset is not just an intellectual idea, it is a way of approaching every challenge, every failure, every victory with the quiet understanding that you are not finished yet, and you never will be. The Stoics understood this intimately. Their philosophy was not about becoming untouchable, but about becoming adaptable. Life, they knew, would not bend to our will, it would break, rebuild, challenge, and surprise us. Wisdom lay not in demanding that life be easy, but in becoming the kind of person who could meet life in all its complexity with steady hands and an open heart. Developing a growth mindset means shifting the way you interpret struggle. It means seeing failure not as evidence of inadequacy, but as proof of effort. It means seeing setbacks not as verdicts, but as invitations. Every obstacle, every difficulty, every uncomfortable moment becomes a question. What is this here to teach me? How can I become stronger through this? Emotional balance grows from the same soil. It is not the absence of feeling, it is the ability to experience the full spectrum of emotion without being overwhelmed or defined by any one part of it. It is the ability to grieve without despair, to feel anger without violence, to feel fear without paralysis. It is the ability to return to center again and again, no matter how often life pulls you off course. Imagine two trees in a storm. One is stiff, rigid, unbending. The wind snaps its branches easily. The other is flexible. It bends, sways, moves with the force of the wind, but does not break. The flexible tree survives because it does not resist reality, it moves with it. This is emotional balance, not the refusal to feel but the refusal to break. A growth mindset teaches you to expect imperfection not as an excuse, but as a fact of life. It teaches you to approach your emotions with curiosity rather than fear. When anger rises, you ask, what boundary needs protecting? When sadness visits, you wonder, what loss am I grieving? And how can I honor it without drowning in it? When fear whispers, you say, what risk am I afraid to take? And what does that reveal about what I value? Emotional balance does not mean apathy, it means presence. It means you can stay with yourself through every wave of feeling without needing to suppress, dramatize, or run away. It is the calm acknowledgement, I'm feeling this, and I can handle it. Marcus Aurelius, facing betrayals, plagues, and war, reminded himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In those few words lies the heart of emotional balance, the ability to govern your internal world even when the external world is chaotic. To cultivate a growth mindset and emotional balance, you must practice not once, not occasionally, but daily. You must celebrate effort over outcome. You must forgive yourself for mistakes not as a way of excusing complacency, but as a way of fueling perseverance. You must learn to find value in the attempt, not just In the result, it requires humility, the humility to accept that you will never be a finished product. That there will always be more to learn, more to refine, more to discover within yourself. It also requires courage, the courage to try to fail, to feel deeply, and to keep moving forward anyway. Growth is messy, balance is dynamic. Some days you will stumble, some days you will fall hard. But each time you rise, each time you choose to engage with your life rather than retreat from it, you strengthen the muscles of resilience. Over time, the voice of defeat grows quieter, the fear of imperfection loosens its grip. You stop asking, "Am I good enough?" and start asking, "How can I become better?" You stop fearing failure and start respecting it as a teacher. You stop trying to control life and start learning how to meet it moment by moment with strength and grace. Develop a growth mindset, cultivate emotional balance, and you will find that life, even in its harshest moments, becomes not something you endure, but something you are continually shaping, continually rising to meet. Mastering your emotions is not about becoming untouchable. It is not about building walls so high that nothing reaches you. It is about standing open and strong at the center of your own being, feeling everything, but choosing what you do with what you feel. It is about noticing the first flickers of anger without letting them ignite into fire. It is about hearing the whispers of fear without letting them dictate your path. It is about recognizing sadness, anxiety, pride, and pain not as enemies to be defeated, but as messengers to be understood. In learning to understand your emotional triggers, to notice your body's signals, to create the sacred pause before reacting, you are reclaiming a freedom that the world will never hand you, a freedom you must build from within. In practicing mindfulness in the ordinary, in cultivating deep self-awareness, in labeling and accepting your emotions, you are learning to live in the present with courage and clarity. You are reframing the thoughts that once imprisoned you. You are practicing empathy, both for others and, just as importantly, for yourself. You are stepping into the quiet, profound responsibility of your own reactions. No longer blaming the world for the weather inside your mind. You are releasing the heavy burdens of ego, pride, and grudges, those silent thieves of peace. You are setting boundaries with calmness and love, speaking your truth clearly without aggression or apology. You are managing the inevitable tides of stress and anxiety, not by fighting the storms but by mastering the vessel that sails through them. And above all, you are embracing the beautiful, imperfect, ever-unfolding work of who you are. You are choosing growth over stagnation, resilience over rigidity, presence over panic. This journey is not linear. It is not neat. It is not finished today or tomorrow or even a year from now. It is a lifelong practice, a daily decision to return again and again to the deeper place within you, where peace is not given by circumstances but forged by intention. And so I leave you with this: you do not need to be perfect to be powerful. You do not need to be fearless to be free. You only need to be willing to see, willing to feel, willing to choose better, even if only a little better each day. Master yourself gently, forgive yourself fiercely, walk steadily, and trust that every small act of inner mastery, every pause, every breath, every act of compassion, every choice to respond instead of react is building a life of quiet, unshakable strength. If this journey spoke to something inside you, I invite you to like this episode, share it with someone you care about, and continue walking this path with me. Every step matters, every step counts. Until next time, stay present, stay grounded, and keep choosing the strength within you. The Real World modules, where you'll actually use this. Before we close, I want to make this practical in the places people actually lose themselves. Module 1, the email that triggers you. You open your inbox and see a message that feels like a slap disguised as professionalism. A passive-aggressive line. A subtle accusation. A "per my last email" that implies you're incompetent. Old you types fast to defend your image. Silent authority does something different. You read it once. Then you stand up. You breathe. You let your nervous system slow down. You write a draft, then you do not send it. You wait 10 minutes, reread, and delete anything that sounds like emotion wearing a suit. Then you send the clean version, short, factual, outcome-based. You don't argue for respect. You demonstrate control. Module 2, the conversation that turns into a trap. Someone starts with a harmless question, then shifts, subtle bait. They want you to justify yourself. Explain yourself. Confess a weakness. This is common in toxic workplaces and unstable relationships. The counter is not aggression. The counter is structure. You answer once, then you ask a clarifying question. You slow the tempo. You refuse to chase their frame. When you feel the urge to over-explain, you stop and say, "What's the outcome you're looking for here?" Most manipulators hate that question because it turns emotional fog into accountability. Module 3, the joke that isn't a joke. A friend, coworker, or family member makes a joke at your expense. Not brutal enough to call it an attack, just sharp enough to test your boundaries. If you explode, you look unstable. If you laugh when it hurts, you teach them it's allowed. Silent authority responds with calm clarity. You don't smile. You don't rage. You look at them and say, slowly, "What do you mean by that?" Then you wait. Let them explain the cruelty out loud. That single question often ends the pattern, because it removes their camouflage. Module 4, social media outrage and the attention tax. The modern world runs on emotional debt. Every day, platforms try to charge you a small fee, a little anger, a little fear, a little envy, a little panic. If you pay all day, you go home empty. So you set rules. No doom scrolling before work. No arguing with strangers. No consuming content that spikes your nervous system without offering a solution. You don't do this to be healthy. You do it because your attention is a strategic resource. Waste it, and everything else collapses. Module 5, family pressure and old versions of you. Family can pull you into old identities: child, rebel, people pleaser, scapegoat. You can be 40 years old and still feel 14 in one sentence. So you practice the pause with the people who know your buttons best. You keep your voice low. You choose one clean boundary and enforce it without speeches. Then later, in private, you journal the trigger. What did it touch? What role did it try to assign me? What would the adult version of me do next time? That's how you end generational patterns, quietly, consistently, without theatrics. Module 6, when you're right. But reacting makes you wrong. There's a trap that mature people still fall into, being correct with the wrong delivery. You can have the facts, the logic, the evidence, and still lose influence. Because your tone is defensive, sarcastic, or heated. Silent authority is the discipline of separating truth from impulse. If you feel the need to win immediately, that's ego disguised as justice. So you do the difficult thing. You choose the right time. You state your point with fewer words. You let silence do the heavy lifting. And if they still refuse to hear you, you don't beg for understanding. You adjust your position, your access, your boundaries. Sometimes the highest form of self-respect is not continuing the conversation. Module 7, the long game, how not reacting changes your reputation. People learn who you are by how predictable you are. If you explode on a schedule, they'll wait for it. If you defend yourself every time, they'll provoke you for entertainment. But if you become calm, consistent, and hard to rush, something shifts. Manipulators get bored. Chaotic people feel exposed. Serious people start trusting you with responsibility. This isn't mystical. It's social physics. The person who stays calm under pressure becomes the reference point in the room. They become the center of gravity. Not because they dominate conversation, because they dominate themselves. And the best part is quiet. You don't have to announce the change. You don't have to teach anyone. You just stop reacting. And the world rearranges around your new standard. The calm that isn't calm. I promised I'd expose the mistake that ruins people who try to become unreactive. Here it is, in plain language. They don't become calm. They become controlled. They clamp down on emotion because they're afraid of what it might make them do. They swallow words. They smile. They pretend. But inside, nothing is resolved, only stored. And stored emotion doesn't disappear. It leaks. It leaks into passive aggression. It leaks into insomnia and exhaustion. It leaks into snapping at the wrong person. It leaks into coldness that pushes away the very people you actually care about. So the goal is not, never feel. The goal is to feel fully, without performing, without exploding, without handing the steering wheel to the moment. Mastery is, notice, name, breathe, choose. Not once. Repeatedly. That repetition is what turns a fragile calm into real authority. Quick practice, 60 seconds. Before you move on with your day, try this once. Think of one person who triggers you. Don't rehearse the argument, just notice what your body does when their name appears in your mind. Jaw, chest, stomach, breath. Now take one slow inhale, then a longer exhale. Label the emotion in one word: disrespected, ignored, threatened, embarrassed, afraid. Then ask one adult question: what outcome do I actually want with this person? That question forces your nervous system to shift from reaction to strategy. One last reminder before we recap: not reacting is not about being nice. It's about being sovereign. You can be kind and still firm. You can be calm and still dangerous, in the sense that you're no longer predictable. No longer easily baited, no longer easy to steer. That's what this practice is building. And once you own that sovereignty, the noise of the world stops sounding like commands. For good. The 3 moves that change everything. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. 1. Catch the body early. The body is the first warning. If you wait for the thought, you're late. 2. Create the pause. 1 breath. 1 second. 1 decision. That's where freedom lives. 3. Respond from identity, not emotion. Ask, what would the version of me I respect do next? Then act from that. And here's the mistake I promised to expose. People confuse suppression with mastery. Suppression looks calm but stores pressure. Mastery feels the emotion, names it, holds it, and chooses. That's silent authority. Not being numb. Not being fake. Not positive. Just being unmovable on the inside, so you can move strategically on the outside. Practical, not performative. If this was useful, don't just like it, use it. Save it and replay the first section the next time you feel yourself speeding up. And I want one word from you in the comments. What triggers you the fastest, disrespect, criticism, rejection, betrayal, or being ignored. One word only. No story. Just the trigger. Subscribe if you want more episodes like this. Stoic clarity with Machiavellian realism, built for the modern world that profits from your reaction.